And one of these days be a grown-up person, I'm sure. Okay. There we go. Okay, got it. Okay. Get my whole whoops. Okay. And we're recording. Mustache at 2 and 10. All right. Let's go and do one last thing. Make sure I have this open and ready for when we gotta tell people to give us money. Cape stuff. There we go. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Now we go.
I'm not too loud, am I?
No, you sound perfect. Do I sound okay?
Yep.
Okay, great.
I was messing with the mic setting earlier during work, and I was wondering if I might have left it too loud.
Understandable. In a world of capes and lunatics, gods and monsters, there are those who walk the streets of Jersey City, protecting those who cannot protect themselves. She is Ms. Marvel. Avast me hearties, and welcome once again to Full Stream Ahead. I am your Captain Charlie, the Professor Esser, and with me as always is me skinny rich friend.
It's Mozz.
Hey Mozz, welcome. Welcome to Ms. Marvel, Season 1, Episode 6, No Normal. Back in Jersey, Kamala finds Cameron and protects him from damage control, who will stop at nothing to take him in. Our directors this week are Adil El Arabi and Bilal Falah. Our writers this week, we get Will Dunn on the teleplay by. AC Bradley also gets that teleplay by. And of course, he is listed as AC Bradley, which is what I just said. And Matthew Chauncey gets that teleplay by credit as well. Well done, got the story by, because he just did that little extra to get the story started. It was created for television by Bisha K. Ali. Will Dunn and Sophie Miller are our story editors. Of course, G. Willow Wilson and Adrian Elfona get the created by credits for Ms. Marvel / Kamala Khan. Josh Levine, an extra story editor, just when you thought 2 wasn't enough. And then hardest working 2 people in show business, Aisha Borhi and Kate Gritman. There are our staff writers. Wow, a lot of people worked on this show today.
If you're gonna try to tell, a large story in 6 episodes, you better have a lot of good story editors.
Yeah, and I think they pulled off a really neat trick here. At least I do.
I definitely wish we had more, but they were able to make use of that time really, really well.
They really did. And one thing that I think is really telling about it is just the fact that you see how the government overreach is winding up causing half the problems that they're dealing with, that yes, Cameron, he has these unstable powers, but these drones are peeping in people's windows. Which, first off, that's a bit of a privacy violation right there. And, for example, you could have just peeped in somebody's windows in Jersey City and they might have shot at you. And would that have caused the drone to blow up the whole Circle Q? No superpowers involved?
Yeah.
You can't be peeping in people's windows in Jersey City. That's not polite.
Although you think back on, the surveillance state that we live in after 9/11 and how drastically things changed. You think about the world that these people live in. What have they gone through? So, I mean, I am sure people would be not as careful as, they once were about what they let happen.
at the same time, I gotta say, like, I think so. It's like when you talk about like the steel circle, which is what they have in London, and it's all of these integrated closed circuit cameras that are everywhere. So like
Okay.
if you're walking down a city street in London, there's tape of it, and that is just for pretty much all of London. And I think, believe it or not, I think people are okay with that. But when you got like a camera that walks around and then actively looks in windows, because that's the thing. That's where you get to that, your man's home is his castle kind of thing, and that's where it gets to be problematic. Um, and I honestly feel like this was definitely an overreach by damage control, and of course this resulted in bad things happening to damage control, really. Because if nothing else, I think this is what is opening up all the problems for these government agencies. Is they're so worried about a threat that they're going to create the threat that they're trying to stop. You know?
Yeah, but at the same time, towards the end, you get a sense that it was one rogue agent that sort of was going that far. Like as soon as her boss heard about, the ruckus it was causing and how public it was, he's like, "Hey, we got to pull back." And she's like, "Yeah, sure, sure."
Well,
Yeah,
but what's important about that is that it's not the ruckus, or that it's public. That if you kept it quiet, you
right.
know, like you want to
It's
shoot
called
these
decorum.
guys. Yeah, it's like you do it quietly. We're going to give you all kinds of black ops money to do that, but you go marching through Jersey City and blowing up a high school.
Yeah, you're no longer black ops. You're like,
Yeah, you're in the middle of the street. It's like, you
there's nothing
know,
black about it.
yeah, it's really problematic in that sense, and that is the real crux of that biscuit here, because now, and granted, and then you do have this reality that yes, Kamran is having a problem that he can't control.
I would argue he
Because
is the problem.
yeah, I mean, arguably he is the problem, but and again, it's also something that he didn't ask for. And
Well,
it's no, I mean, well, yeah, he was
I mean,
he
he's
was
certainly
moving.
been enjoying the fruits of that dynamic, So tacitly, if
Well,
you
he liked being a clandestine. He li-
right,
he liked he liked the being a natural super soldier. He
right,
did not like he does not like having energy beams shooting out of him when he can't control it.
certainly.
You know, um, and when we get to what we reveal at the end, I think that actually tells us a little bit about what they're setting up here.
Hmm.
Because one of the central issues about that thing, which is mutants, a mutation, if you will, is that oftentimes these powers are not a positive thing for them. That like, yeah, sure, every so often you get to be super cool and shoot laser beams out of your eyes, but even then it's like, if you're Cyclops, well, I can't not shoot laser beams out of my eyes, and that's actually really problematic.
Hmm.
um or you can be Charles Xavier, but then every so often you're a Toad, or you're some other person whose life is actually maybe screwed up by having these powers. You're the Blob, and you want to it's great power that you can't be moved, but it's not like the excess mass is a positive in your life. Especially I know. This is for Fred Dukes, man. But yeah, but I think that's sort of what we're approaching with this. And the fact of the matter is that because he's having these problems, yeah, he's causing damage in the subway car. But then again, it's one of these weird things where if he wasn't on the run, then maybe he wouldn't be in this stress level and having these problems. But then again, if his family hadn't smashed up a wedding, he wouldn't be
Right.
on the run. So it's a confluence of bad choices made by bad people
Right.
that Ms. Marvel has to solve.
Mm.
You know, and thank goodness that Zoe has a bunch of TikTok followers.
I like that she was
Because
in the high school filming her TikToks because the theater had good lighting.
yeah, well, if you want to produce, you gotta be willing to plan
Yeah.
it out. It's you don't just become an influencer by being influential. You want to be an influencer, you got to think, okay, what do people want? What's the algorithm going to put into their feed?
She's
You know,
definitely a hustler for
yeah,
sure.
you got to be in this world, man. Yeah, but it was interesting, although it, and, I'm just going to be honest with you, it's kind of funny because they're going to Penn Station and they're clearly on a PATH train. But I just learned that they've closed down the PATH train from Newark to Jersey City because of their from Harrison to Exchange Place. They've actually had to they're doing flood abatement on the tracks. So yeah, so they would not have actually been able to get there in the real world.
Yeah.
Yeah, they would have had to go on to Hoboken first, and then taken an NJ Transit train to get to Newark Penn Station or New York Penn Station.
Mm. Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
but
maybe it's in the future and all that work has been completed.
yeah, they do have start drones and damage control. So yeah, that's but it's just only because like mass transit has been something that I've been looking into a lot about how to get from one spot to another, and it just really bugged me recently when I found out that the PATH train
Oh
was
yeah,
down.
that'd be nice.
Yeah. um but yeah, and of course they go to the mosque and they have what I think is a really neat exchange, because it actually does mirror an exchange that happened in the comics once, where
Oh,
again, when they were running, I believe, from Cradle, and they go to the mosque and the imam says, of course, come in, you have sanctuary here, this is a house of worship. And when Bruno makes that point, Nakia is like, are you an idiot? This is a mosque in Jersey City. We are being surveilled constantly.
right. Defeats the purpose entirely.
Yes, it's like, yeah, they'll give you sanctuary, but that's not gonna do you good if things start blowing up.
Yeah, but no, you can't hide here.
Yes, you can't hide
That's
here.
like everyone's gonna
Exactly.
know. There's no way you're hiding here at all.
Yes. But they go to the school because it's, as they say, the one place that they can guarantee will be empty on a Saturday, which I don't know if that's true, because like I don't know, when I was in high school they had like you'd go on a Saturday and there'd be like practices and things like that you couldn't do during the week. you know
Yeah.
yeah, but I guess they knew the extracurricular schedule, and it would have been empty if not for Zoe. But good thing she was there anyway. And they start, and I like, one of the things I like is when Kamala is going through her plan. You know, people question like, are we really going to stop damage control with softballs? And it's like, no, we're going to slow them down. Because the whole point is we're not trying to stop damage control. That's stupid. We're all going to get in trouble for this.
Yeah.
But if we can delay it just enough, get Cameron out of Jersey City, he can go somewhere where he can be safe and out of the reach of damage control. And that's the goal. And it's cool that she's thinking in that way. And and they do all their rigging up of all their little ways to stop it. They get everyone together. Oh, by the way, just to jump back, I like her sort of coming out as a superhero to her family thing. especially because everyone already knew. That's
Yeah.
very cute. He goes, "What? I had no idea."
All right, that was at the beginning of this episode.
Yeah, at the
Right.
very beginning. But what do you think about her mother? Making the statement that you're not going to go out dressed like that, and then she gives her the costume. What did you think of that?
I thought that was a lovely little moment. It was like more traditional. She had like a little shawl that goes
Hmm.
with it. But it was modern and it was keeping the themes that are important to her daughter as well.
I know it's very beautiful, and it goes into this idea that I do think that Kamala's mom has some of that clandestine power, because she's like real fast at throwing things together, and she's like a really good seamstress.
Oh, well, that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah,
When did she have time to make that between learning it like last night and now?
yeah, and like designing the whole thing with the broken necklace to make the S symbol.
I don't know. I mean, I would love to believe that, but like the way that she acted with her mom tells me that
Mm.
she didn't think that any of that stuff was real.
What do you
So,
mean?
like, she was still angry with her mother and she was still dismissive of her mother's claims for the longest time until she finally saw Kamala in action. So it's like I find it hard to believe that she sort of knew all along or that she has powers herself,
No,
unless
no,
she
no.
didn't know about it.
Well, no, and it's not that she has powers herself. It's like she doesn't know she has powers. So her powers are like the clandestine. They're really good at doing things. They're fast and they're quick and they've got great reflexes. And it's sort of like she doesn't notice that it's weird because that's just her baseline. That's what she's always had.
Right.
And it's like I always say about like when you get that super soldier serum, everybody notices how much stronger they get. No one notices that they got smarter, because usually it was a pretty smart guy who got it to start with. But if you
Right.
were a really dumb guy and suddenly got way smarter, it would be really shocking to you.
Right.
And so for her, it's not that she knows anything, but I do think that she's got a little bit of an ability to do things quickly.
Although
You
at
know,
the end here, Bruno says, I compared your DNA to your entire family and you're unique amongst them all.
yeah, because her mother has the Jin DNA, and the Jin DNA is what gives you just the athleticism.
Okay.
What Kamala has is something else that unlocks that Nor dimension power, which I actually so I got like a whole fan theory about this, that the Nor dimension is actually the negative zone, that it is the antimatter universe of the
Right.
negative zone, and that the clandestines and the Nor, they actually are beings from that antimatter universe who come into this universe, um but that because matter and antimatter can't exist at the same time, when they come into contact it destroys itself. But the idea is that those travelers coming to Earth from the Nor dimension, from the negative zone, that's what attracts the Kree. And I get the feeling like they are going to wrap the Kree and the Inhumans into what the Jinn are, to sort of produce what that the Inhumans are humans that have been empowered by that antimatter universe DNA and energy.
Mhm.
And then the mutants are humans who, through a mutation, are also accessing this extra planar energy, because it's not always going to be the antimatter dimension. Sometimes it's going to be the Crimson Bands of Cyttorak dimension if you happen to be Cyclops. So that's my crazy fan theory for the week, but we'll have to see where that goes. But in the moment, we get the fight, we get the elephant toothpaste. Tristan made a good point to me about elephant toothpaste. apparently it's a very exothermic reaction. So like when you create elephant toothpaste, that stuff is coming out steaming hot, and if it touched your skin, it could very easily burn you.
Oh wow.
Yeah, fortunately, as I pointed out, they were all wearing tactical gear, so that probably protected them from getting severe burns from
None
it.
of the kids were within blast radius?
No, of course not. They knew it
Okay,
was there, so they didn't go in there.
fair
They're
enough.
blowing it up. Um, Also that's going to be a mess to clean up. Uh,
Yeah.
but then again, so's the wall that Cameron blew apart with his powers.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Towards the end of it, you see he's like perfectly willing to just waste people, you know? Like he saves her in the bathroom, knocks a hole in the wall, and then he's immediately about to destroy one of the agents there, and she has to put an energy field between it to block
Yeah,
it.
and to be fair, there's a couple of reasons why. There's one, he was raised by the clandestine,
Right.
so we know that he was told, like, since a little kid, hey man, we might have to do some unpleasant things, but this is all for the greater good. This is all to get us home to the Nor dimension. um so who knows, he may have killed in the past. You never know.
Yeah.
He's a young kid, but maybe he's had to do it. But more to the point, this is also after he finds out his mom is dead.
Right.
And it's also interesting because I think he may think that Kamala killed his mom. Like, maybe not
Yeah,
be
I
mad at her.
wondered about that too. But like he don't you think he would have acted sooner or more violently if
Well,
he
no,
did
because
that?
I think he understood that maybe, because I think from this is just a theory, okay? So she says your mom did everything she said she was going to do. She opened the door and she was going to destroy the world. And then it's like, what happened to my mother? It's like she died. But it's later that he says she died to protect you and sent what she had to you, which basically changes the dynamic from the first time she talks about it to the second time she talks about it, where it goes from just that your mother's dead and she was trying to destroy the world to
Right.
your mother's dead because she saved you, because she thought of you and she tried to close the portal and sent her powers to you. But again, I don't think they communicate that very well in the first thing. So I think there's a part of him that does think Kamala killed her because she had to protect her world. And that
Yeah.
idea that, and again, if he was raised with this idea that, sometimes you got to kill people, maybe he doesn't hold it against her, but it's really messing with his day. It's really messing with his
See
head
that
because
for
now
sure.
he's truly alone in the universe.
Yeah.
You know, um, and again, when she realizes that she's going to send him to be with the Red Daggers, again, it's like, these are the people that have been hunting my family my whole life. They aren't going to protect me. But as she says and I forget the Red Dagger's name, but says to him, yeah, I know he's clandestine, so am I. It's like, we're not just who we are, we're not just our lineages. You have to help him.
Yeah.
And true to his word, he does, which is pretty cool when you think about it. um
I could see a buddy cop series with the two of them.
oh, I'm sure we haven't seen the last of them. I am certain of that. Because first off, I think there's all sorts of lore and mythos with the Red Daggers that they got to explore. There's going to be a lot more stuff to show us.
Mm.
um and um the entire question of what's going to happen in the Marvels is interesting, because we do get our teaser for the Marvels at the end. um but that's a couple years out, so I don't know, like, are we just not going to see Ms. Marvel again until then? And then
So
what's gonna
how far out is it?
I think it's, well, I mean, it's certainly, it's, we
Gotta
got
be a year,
she
no?
yeah, it's got to be a little, it's got to be at least a year, yeah. So I guess maybe it'll line up there. I'm more interested in figuring out what's going to happen with Bruno, and I do wonder if we're going to see Bruno again
Yeah,
before we see Ms. Marvel.
he's gonna like weaponize and outfit some superheroes for sure.
Well, this is the thing. He's at Caltech, and we know, even though they say, "Oh, Ironheart, she was going to MIT," but we actually saw that you know Caltech, that they went to California, the Wakandans, to set up their cultural exchange. So I wonder if she's going to meet Bruno at Caltech, or if if we get Wakanda Forever and we get like a Bruno cameo, I'm going to be very excited. Or when we get to Ironheart, if we have her palling with Bruno. So that could be interesting. That could be very interesting how that dynamic goes, because Bruno is very cool and I want to see more of him. But but anyway, yeah, I mean, we get this big fight. We get millions in property damage, but we also see, and what I guess is like the whole point, is Kamala is not going to have a fight. She's not going to let Kamran hurt people, and she sure as heck isn't going to let damage control hurt people.
Or hurt Kamran.
Yeah, she's trying to protect everyone. And in your classic scene there, we see at the end, Jersey City comes to protect her,
That was beautiful, because it's like in that moment, my favorite scene was when the mom says to her, "Look, Kamala, they're all here for you. They all support you," which is such an interesting moment because her whole life was spent being shunned by her community for her grandmother's supposed weird, witchy stuff.
Yeah.
And now here we are, finally we come to America, and now we're in like a free open society, and everybody like, hey, we come together, we have community surrounding us for our specialness, not shunning us for it. I thought that was a really, really cool moment.
That was. I do find the cops to be interesting in this. A lot of talk out there about and here's the thing about the cops. The cops can't win for losing in this, because first, they're just trying to hold the crowds back,
right?
Because they're trying to stop a riot, obviously, because obviously there's a lot of angry people been whipped up by the TikTok, and they're just trying to maintain order. Meanwhile, damage control is coming in and doing damage.
Right, and they're not supposed to exist. They're like one of these off the books organizations. So like some point,
damage control is public knowledge.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're not like S.H.I.E.L.D., where it was clandestine.
Oh, okay.
They're clandestine. No, they were a well-documented group. They have government offices, and there's been talk about like exactly what they do, and that effectively they were originally just created to clean up after like Avengers level messes. But that basically after S.H.I.E.L.D. falls and everything else, they sort of get wrapped into sort of like a Department of Homeland Security kind of thing, where now they're just in charge of all superheroic dangers. And again, like we said, in this moment, it's not that she is going in to catch this guy, it's that she's going in against children at a high school in the middle of the city. That there's all this TikToks out, because that's the thing, is like even before TikToks they go in,
we gotta go.
Yeah, exactly. We do not mess. We may have made fun of her with her influencers, but hey, she is an influencer. Right. We all saw the popcorn video. We do not want to mess with the power of popcorn. So
I wish they would have given us a bit more into her backstory. The red-haired damage control agent. Like, why is she the way that she is? I mean, like, that's an extreme personality, right? Willing to forego orders, like putting your entire career in jeopardy to get like, why was she so motivated in that direction? I'm sure there's a good story. I would have loved to have heard it.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna. Here's what I'll say: I doubt we've seen the last of her.
I hope so.
I doubt we've seen the last of any of them, because first off, I think that her position is not unreasonable in this universe.
Right.
And that's the thing. And there's even a very interesting point that she makes when it first comes up, when she says, this is what happens when the wrong kind of people get superpowers. And he says, wrong kind of people. She says, kids, which is, and again, that's something that feeds into this idea of the mutants, which tend to be teenage kids. And you have this possibility that maybe she has dealt with teenage superheroes or teenage, powered beings who caused damage, maybe who weren't as careful as Kamala.
So this is the beginning of the mutant registration, like the seeds.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool.
I mean, if you think about it, a character like Cyclops, when his powers first emerged, he took out. Actually, I think in some comics he like damaged the Washington Monument.
Oh,
poor Washington Monument. Yeah, but the fact of the matter is, you realize that people could have really been hurt in that. People could have really been killed, or anything bad could have happened. So maybe we are going to see that. No, she's got this history of some kid who got their hands on some kind of power cell, or got themselves some kind of super mutant power, and actually really did damage and hurt someone, maybe hurt someone she loves. And that's why she feels dedicated. This is too dangerous. You can't have children running around with these powers unchecked. And that it's not an unreasonable statement. The same reason why we don't, generally speaking, let kids have automatic weapons. Because that would be bad. That would be dangerous. You don't want a bunch of high school kids carrying guns to school for obvious reasons. Because even if you have 10 good guys to one bad guy with a gun, you're still going to have bad guys with guns that are just going to draw the gun, because the good guy with the gun isn't going to draw his gun until the bad guy does. And we all know that if you ever watch cowboy movies, you got to be quick on the draw. You got to, it's not good. Anyway, but moving right along, she does help Kamala escape. Kamala does, and this is what's good, because as we know, every city in the Marvel Universe has an interlocking network of tunnels that can get you from one place to another really fast. And you know what? You laugh, but that's actually canonical. That's actually, yeah.
I was thinking it might have taken them like 2 months to get there by like this container ship or something.
Yeah, how he got from Jersey City to Karachi, I don't know.
Well, I'm saying it had to be like a shipping line. That's the only thing you have to get by.
Yeah, or they actually just meant they just went to they just went to Staten Island or something. It was just
catch the ferry to Staten Island.
Yeah, just took the ferry to Staten Island. I'm sure there's a Pakistani community in
huge,
Staten Island. It's like, yeah.
No, but he ends up in Pakistan, right? So like,
well, we assume it's Pakistan. All we know is they went into a restaurant. That's all we know. I think it's the same restaurant as before, but yeah, it's like, yeah. Right. So how we got
that the Red Dagger is there, like, and then if it was here, then what? How did that guy get here?
Yeah, that's pretty. Yeah, so obviously, I guess we can probably assume that he has been like on a ship for like a month. So like that whole scene, that's like that's a couple weeks later.
Right, had to be.
Which maybe shows why he's a little more calm with his powers by that point, because he was just glad to get out of the dang shipping container.
Yeah,
that makes sense. Yeah, and
so what is that end supposed to mean where Cal Danvers shows up? Oh, look, well, okay, before we get there, I have that great scene with her dad on the roof where he names her Miss Marvel and reveal that the name Kamala in Urdu means like a miracle, a marvel,
Yeah. Which I don't know if it does, but I'm sure it's close enough. It does? Oh, good. Well, then there we go. Yeah. I mean, that is, that's they actually do that a lot. Where there's a lot of words that mean miracle that they say it, but in Marvel they say it means Marvel.
Uh,
So, and that's just an interesting little side
it's
note.
like something that
Oh,
makes you go, wow, so
yeah,
like it's like it's just
yeah. So
yeah.
anyway, so yes, and that's how she gets to be our little Ms. Marvel. I think they got
One
to
thing
hit
I
that.
found weird about that is he's really into superheroes, knows all the superheroes, and then he goes, Carol Danvers, I don't know who that is. I was like, I didn't buy that he didn't know who that was. It
No,
was a weird.
I don't think he's into superheroes. I think he
Is
just
he?
no, he knows who Hulk is.
All
In
right, all
fact,
right,
I think maybe the mom knew who Hulk was because it would be Big Hulk, Little Hulk,
yeah, fair enough.
you know,
That's
and not for nothing. I'm sure they saw the Hulk when he was in town,
right,
because at this point the Hulk actually has a pretty big public persona. Carol
right,
Danvers is still kind of a more obscure celebrity because she's not out there saving kittens out of trees,
right.
you
She
know.
shows up when it's like really necessary.
Yeah, so it's like, and also he's like, and also even if he were be aware, maybe he knows her as Captain Marvel or
Hmm.
the Marvel girl or something, and like I don't know who Carol Danvers is or Carol freaking Danvers. I don't know who that is. Although you'd think since it's all over your daughter's room, maybe you might ask who that is.
Yeah.
So I think that was also him just being a silly dad, 'cause
I
I
would
don't.
like to think so a little bit.
Yeah. Um. It's just it's a lot of it's very sweet and it's a good thing, and you get see her run off, and he just looks at this absolute magic,
Mm.
which and apparently that actor is the actor who does the Pakistani translations for Doctor Strange. So he actually does the voiceover for um Doctor Strange when they ship that
So he's
into.
the Pakistani Doctor Strange.
He is the Pakistani Doctor Strange.
Hilarious.
Yes.
Oh, that's so cool. I gotta find a clip of that now. That sounds really.
Yes. So yeah. You can find him online, but yeah, because it's his voice. He's got that great baritone voice.
Yeah. Oh,
So
that's hilarious.
um. So anyway, so yeah, that is that. We get the final scene with the
Right. So what is happening there? What? Because like, is there a storyline in the comics that
Well,
references?
yeah. I mean, that looks like it's what happens. So the Negabands, which is why I think the Nord Dimension might be the antimatter universe.
Huh.
The Negabands were these two bands, because even say these were supposed to be two bands, and that was what powered Captain Marvel, because it had like the force of the antimatter universe that he could then use to do all kinds of superhero stuff. But what it was like, if you hit them together, you would trade places with someone from the negative. So basically Captain Marvel would be trapped in the negative zone, and his bands were found by Rick Jones. He
Mm.
put them on and hit them together, and then Rick Jones went into the negative zone, and Captain Marvel became in the real world. And
So does it have to be the negative zone, or can it be anywhere?
well, no, that's what the Negabands did.
Ah.
So it allowed you to pass between the one world and the negative zone, and often utilizing the system that you would hit one you that if someone was wearing it, you could exchange places with someone in the negative zone.
Huh.
So presumably what happened there was Carol Danvers is retrieving the other bangle, possibly from the negative zone. And then when she gets there, something happens, it activates, and it translocates Carol Danvers and Kamala Khan. So
Oh, so I
that
wonder if Kamran's mom is going to be in the negative zone. Like that wasn't her dying; that was her shedding her human form to ascend.
is a possibility. That is a possibility.
Well, that would be interesting.
And again, that's the other thing that makes me think that I think the Kree and the negative zone are going to tie in together, because you saw how what happened to them as they're transitioning was similar to what happened in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. with the Diviner. If you didn't have the right DNA, it turns you into that black crusty cocoon. But the idea is that maybe because that is just part of how that antimatter transformation works, like that's what happens with the activation. But the thing is, if you don't have any antimatter being DNA in you, that it just like covers you in the cocoon, and it doesn't emerge you out the other side. Possibility, I don't know, just a crazy theory, but I do think that's something that they're going to build to sort of reintegrate all of these things that have already been established, so that they can, bring in all of the actors and actresses that the fans love to put into the larger Marvel universe. That's my theory. That's what I expect. And and so I'm thinking that they're going to have a thing where what makes you inhuman is this tie to the negative zone, and that the Noor dimension will be the negative zone, which will in its own time tie to the Fantastic Four.
Wow.
Yep. It's all connected, Mozzie. Any final thoughts on tonight's episode?
A good ending to a solid show that created a pretty special character that I think people are genuinely waiting for more from.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And next week we're going to be talking the Ms. Marvel Assembled episode, and then after that, make way for the She-Hulk.
Hope that's
She's
good.
coming. I hope it's good too. I think it's going to be good. I think we might even get like some interesting tie-ins there as well. I think there's going to be
Matt Murdock's going to be a part of the show.
Matt Murdock's going to be in there. That's going to be good. He's in the red and yellow costume now because he's blind. What does he know? It's he doesn't know that clashes. It's like, yeah, man, but if you're trying to be like, stealthy, maybe we shouldn't put so much yellow. It's like, oh, why? Does yellow not blend in? It's like, no, not really. It's very eye catching. Oh boy.
And if we get him, hopefully we get the Punisher somewhere soon too.
Oh yeah, well, was it Rosario Dawson? I think it was. Said that she's excited to be working with Barenthal again.
Oh, nice.
But then she had to walk it back. Said, no, I don't know. That's actually happened. I was just saying something I had heard from.
Would be nice. Right.
Yeah, like I had heard a rumor, and then I was just repeating the rumor, but no one's called me yet, or at least that's what she says.
Right. That's what she was told to say.
Yes. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've liked listening to this episode. You can always write to us anytime you like at CapesandLunatics@gmail.com. That's CapesandLunatics, all spelled out, at gmail.com. That's to send us letters, which we can read on the air for this show or any of our shows. And if you don't like to, type with your fingers, you can always just call us on the telephone and leave us a voice message at 614-382-2737. That's 614-38-CAPES. And likewise, go to our show notes, go down to Linktree, that's linktr.ee/CapesandLunatics. There you're going to see links for all of our shows, all of our merch, t-shirts, the whole 9 yards, and the ability to subscribe to our Patreon, where you can give us money and vote on stuff we do, and it can be a lot of fun. You get full video at $5 a month. Join for as cheap as $3. And Mozz, if people would like to reach out to you, how can they find you?
Oh, they can email me at mozzmanzor@gmail.com or find me on Facebook under Mozz Manzor. That's MOZZMANZOOR.
And of course, they can always write to me as well in that old-fashioned email way, the way our mothers and fathers once did, at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, @gmail.com. And follow me on the Twitter as I live tweet things, maybe, unless I get a job that has me now working 2 to midnight every night. Yes, but it's only for 4 days a week, so it's like, so it'd be 3 days off, 4 days on, but 2 to midnight. It's interesting. It's a possibility. We don't know yet. Nothing's confirmed. But when I live tweet things, that's at Charlie Esser. That's CharlieEsser. Look for the 2 E's in the middle.
For quality. Bing.
Thank you, Mozz. All right, me hearties. You have come through another evening on the bounding main of the internet and all of the great streaming content that we bring to you fresh from the sea. Come again next week as we once again sail full stream ahead. Arg.
All right.
All right, Mozzie.